रंग चढ़े खुद का ही खुद पे बच्चों को तू ऐसे बढ़ा। बचपन मना रे यारा बचपन मना। रोशन हो ये नन्हे दिए इन्हें तू रोज सजा। बचपन मना रे यारा बचपन मना। जादू है ये जीने दे जरा। बचपन मना रे यारा बचपन मना। गिरने दे बढ़ने दे उनको पास आए तो गले भी लगा। बचपन मना रे यारा बचपन मना। नई ये दुनिया नया आसमां। बच्चों को बचपन से ही सिखा। खेलते खेलते साथ निभा। ऐसे तो उनका जीवन सजा। ये बचपन है त्योहार हर दिन का। ये पहचान ले और रोज मना। बचपन मना रे यारा बचपन मना। बचपन मना रे यारा बचपन मना। बचपन मना रे यारा बचपन मना। अरे अब तो मना ले यारा।
Hello. Let's get started. Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here with us today. My name is Devina, and I work closely with the Bachpan Manao team. At Bachpan Manao, we hold childhood at the center of how we think about play, care, and the futures that we're shaping. I'm so glad that we could gather today for this Bachpan Baithak during India Climate Week, offering us a space to pause and reflect together. Because when we hear the word climate, it often feels distant. Targets, negotiations, reports. But for children, it's already here in ways that we see every single day. It's the playground that stays waterlogged through the monsoon. It's the classroom where the heat makes it really hard to sit still. It's the child coughing through the evening smog. It's the games that move indoors because there are no safe play spaces outside. Let's pause here. How many of us grew up playing outdoors, running in gullies, climbing trees, chasing kites? And can we think about what those spaces look like for the children we know today? This Bachpan Baithak is about those exact shifts, not the abstract ones, but the real ones. About how climate lives in childhood, about what parents, teachers, neighbors, and systems like schools or communities can do to make these spaces safer, more joyful, and connected to nature again. So, to guide us through this conversation today, we have Deepika from the Step team who will be moderating and facilitating the chat. And joining her are three voices from three very different contexts. We have Leenthoy, a PhD scholar and conservationist who works with communities in the northeast of India to restore forests and wildlife, including landscapes shaped by jhum cultivation. We have Bijal, who is a children's author and a commissioning editor at Patham Books, who brings the lens of storytelling and how the prompts we give children and adults shape their relationships with climate and care. And we have Shruti, who is the founder of the Green Panther Club, which helps children in cities reconnect with the outdoors through play, art, and everyday exploration. With that, I'll hand over to Deepika to open the conversation.
Thank you so much, Devina, and welcome to the Bachpan Baithak. The Bachpan Baithak is actually meant to become a conversation on topics that are connected to childhood and are relevant to childhood. And this India Climate Week, we are trying to have this conversation about climate, environment, children, and how thriving childhoods are today and what they should be and what we would like them to be for the future. And as Devina so very nicely introduced our three panelists for this conversation. I mean, if this conversation were real, this in a physical space, it would be a round table with the four of us having chai in front of us and biscuit and having a lovely chat and egging each other on in terms of telling stories and, unpacking questions and keeping it as light as possible. We're going to try and do that digitally to the extent that is possible. But I want to start with, um, Linthoy. It's where did you grow up, and what does in when you talk about the work that you're doing today, and say a couple of lines about the work you're doing today, if you can root it in your childhood and say what in the early years of your life led you to start thinking about doing this kind of work in conservation and restoration and in the communities in which you work. And if you can connect that to your earliest memories in childhood, in play, in engaging with nature and all of that, that perhaps led you here or something else that led you here.
Yeah. I grew up in Imphal city. Like my home is surrounded by it's an urban area, but still my home is surrounded by small patches of bamboo groves. And then a little far from my home, we have paddy fields. And then we have a small, every houses in our locality has small home gardens where we cultivate our daily vegetables. And then we also have a small pond in our locality and a small playground, like for all of us to play. So for me, childhood was more like after coming back from school. As far as I remember, after coming back from school, we would rush to go and play the field. We would rush and collect mud and make shapes out of it and teach everyone. And we would compete which one is who is making it better. Yeah, and then we would chase butterflies. We would like we would compete which one of us is getting a more colorful butterfly, and then uh, we would yeah, we would play with we would collect flowers. We would color our hands with the berries that we collect. We would eat that. We would eat whatever we get. That's about it. My childhood, we would I love cycling, so we used to go cycling, a group of our friends, to the paddy field, chase dragonflies and grasshoppers and crickets. That's how I connected my childhood with wildlife. And then birds and butterflies, they are the main drivers of me being a conservationist, like me studying wildlife and then forest. That's how I came here. So yeah, that's it. And then the place that I'm working, it's a very wonderful place. It's very different from my hometown. It's called Karbi Anglong. It's in the part of it's in the state of Assam. So there the chai how do I say, the landscape is different, the people are different, like the communities are different, and the way of life is different. So what I see, what I like when I first came here, the innocence of the children of this area is there is no internet in the place that I am working. So they are really cut out of the social media and everything, and up till some age, because the youngsters, the teenagers, after you pass the teenage, they figure out some way to connect to the internet. But till childhood and school days, there is no internet, so they don't bother much about mobile phones or yeah, other things. So what I see is like yeah, in this area, shifting cultivation, is a type of cultivation that happens in the hilly terrain. So in this, you have to walk, I think, at least about you have to trek 1 hour, 1.5 hour, or like 45 minutes to reach to the field that you are cultivating. So I often see children's going with their parents, tirelessly walking and trekking through the mountains to reach there. And after reaching there, they are not tired. They will explore everything that is present around them. So that's a huge difference that I get to see from my childhood and their childhood. So I can see children like 1.5, 2 years. The mother will carry them. They are like they will be they'll make a swing, and they will be they'll let them play. They'll let them sleep there while the mothers and their parents are working. So I think they are connected with nature much in a much open and much earlier uh, like earlier phases of life rather than the urban kids. So yeah, and then what I would like to add is now what is happening is after certain age, after they reach a certain part phase of education. So nowadays the family wants to take their children out of their hometown and yeah, like send them to other places to go and do further studies. So there is a huge gap in knowledge exchange between the elders and the younger generation. That is something that I can point out. Other than that, they children in this area are living much closer to nature. Okay.
Bijal, you've been writing climate stories for a really long time. I think 2017, no? The first book was, or was it before that?
That's right, yes.
So, if you were to connect it to, I mean, given your background, you could have been writing about many different things. And you also have, actually. So, what really drives you to tell stories of climate change and provoke thinking on climate change in young children? And climate and environment. What drives that? And is it rooted in anything of your own childhood? Is there a reason why this is so urgent and so many books are coming out of you?
Uh, I don't think anyone's ever asked me this question before, Deepika. Firstly, Lintoy, I just want to say I am so jealous. But I grew up in Delhi and Bombay, which was a completely different sort of childhood. I mean, we did have a very large roaming radius in that sense, but I was a very shy child. And I would build a blanket fort and hide under it with my books. And then
Okay.
my parents would take me to picnics, and that's when I would start looking around me. From what I've read, I would look for clues. So when I read The Magical Faraway Tree by Enid Blyton, I was like, I want to climb a tree and find new worlds. And so that was pretty much my childhood. I would read and then I would go out, look at the real world for answers in many ways. But I think what happened with my writing about climate was really I was a journalist at one point of time, and everywhere I would, um, and I used to handle the children's media beat and the environment beat. And so every time I spoke to children, I realized that they had questions about the environment. I have seen children raise money for tiger conservation. I've seen them stand up and question adults about practices like, why are you using that plastic? What is wrong with you? And really taking charge of their present and their future in their own ways. And I think when I saw that, I would always contrast their childhood with mine, which was a very shy one, which was a very introverted one.
And I love the fact that through nature, these children were able to find their voices and to be able to amplify environment's voice in many ways and campaign for a better future for themselves. And I think that's really how I started thinking about the intersection of childhood and climate, because we already know when it comes to the climate crisis, children are the most vulnerable. They're at risk of losing their future, but also their present and their future. So they're at risk twice as much. And yet we don't tell them enough about this crisis that they are facing in languages that they know and understand very deeply. In fact, like climate change doesn't even have great translations. I remember when my first picture book was translated, it was Jalvayu Parivartan. I was like, what is that? Uh, so I felt like the books I write, I wanted them to help children understand the kind of realities they're facing, but in a very safe way, in a way that's also they can find humor in these circumstances. Because let's face it, the kind of farce sometimes that you see around climate conversations, the only way I can deal with it is through sarcasm. So that's how I wrote my first climate fiction, A Cloud Called Bura. And it's a satire in many ways. But to me, it's really about the triumph of childhood, of children finding agency, of finding a sense of wonder in nature, and being able to question things and find answers.
Sorry, I think someone's.
Yeah.
No, but that. So basically, books led you to nature, and then both when you were young and again as an adult.
Yes, it's a very unidimensional childhood and adulthood, I must admit.
But it's opening up so many worlds because you write for so many a varied age group also, no, Bijan. So that's I think that sort of making the whole conversation accessible, rooted in the agency of the child, is critical. As young as a 3-year-old, or as old as a 12-year-old, I think it's fascinating. Shruti, it can't be fun to try and talk about sort of unlocking the value of nature that we see in urban contexts. I know you said Bombay has your heart. Did you grow up in Bombay?
No, not
Uh-huh.
really.
Uh-huh.
Just the last place before moving to Bangalore.
That's place before going to Bangalore. So what led you to choose to actually say, let me open up nature around us for children and for communities around me, so that the exploration is real because it's everywhere. We just don't see it in the concrete jungles in which we live. And obviously, I think the conversations of some of the work that you do will relate to lifestyle changes. Children become activists. I'm sure they become agents of change in terms of their own behaviors. And I'm also I want to come back to this question of fears that you might have heard children express in the context of what they see as the climate crisis or the climate change, and what the younger ones are saying and what the older ones are saying. But more than anything else, rooted in your own childhood, I think it'd be nice to see where you grow up. How do you come here? Why did you choose to do this?
Yeah, all right. So I partly grew up in small towns of Karnataka and Maharashtra. I was for a few years in Bidar. It's a very small town of North Karnataka. And then partly in Aurangabad, again, a small town in Maharashtra. And I think back then, unstructured outdoor play was quite natural. Like Linthoi mentioned, after school, I don't remember staying indoors. We were just outdoors, chasing butterflies, cycling around, playing with friends, and we didn't have to schedule it. And I think our parents were also very stress free. They allowed us to play. I think the neighborhood was such back then compared to what we have today. So today, when I see children, especially in context to urban, urban kids, they meet nature in a very structured way. It could be through either school programs or the curated weekend walks, something that we conduct at Green Panther. It's not a spontaneous thing anymore. And definitely, I think it's a lot to do with the lifestyle, the hectic schedule that we have, and even the after school activities that I see, they're all indoors. Parents are so scared to let their uh, children play freely outside for various reasons, right from safety aspect to the weather conditions. Also, they don't even want the children to fall sick. So I think I see a very drastic difference in the childhood that I have lived. And that exactly, I think, the story where it comes to when I had my daughter. And when she was 2 year old, I was in Mumbai then. And I saw that difference of my childhood and the environment and the atmosphere she has around her. There were beautiful play areas, no doubt. But then I was, feeling that lack of something is missing in her life. That's exactly when I thought of doing something about this, and it was a very humble initiative. I just got my own apartment kids together, and we had a talk with the authorities over there, and there was a piece of land that was empty and was of no use, and all of the children, we came together, we sowed seeds, they grew vegetables over there, we harvested it, and then they sold it to the apartment residents itself. And we did a small drive in the apartment where they knocked door to door and collected all the bags, because the vegetable vendor over there was selling or giving away the vegetables in the plastic bags. And there were so many idle cloth bags and other bags, even the plastic bags that could have been reused. So kids collected all those bags. So the vegetables that they sold were with those bags that they had collected. And I saw the joy and the satisfaction the kids had, and the parents being happy, they doing something productive, non-screen thing. That led me to take this up furthermore and explore the possibility of engaging urban kids in very small little way, because as you rightly said, nature is right around us. It could be even apartments, common green spaces, it could be a nearby park, a small backyard, even a small balcony or a window is a great opportunity for us to engage kids with. And yeah.
I do want to have a follow-on question to the thing that Shruti is pointing out, and this I'm actually going to ask Bijal and Linthoy. When Shruti talks about engagement with nature, basically children engaging with anything, growing their own food or growing food, and Linthoy talked about it in the context of restoration and cultivation. Children then actually seeing the whole cycle of engagement and then taking a stance on what to use, what not to use, all of these questions. At the same time, they're also at the receiving end of a changing climate. Schools are shut down, things become online very often because of air quality, all of these other kinds of things. There are the big things and there are the small things. The small everyday day-to-day things that we're talking about, connection with nature, taking a stand, making small changes. And there are these big things that really, really impact them anyway. How then does the adult look at the two of these and then say, how do I solve for the big? What does it mean? I mean, it's not a problem that I can solve as an individual. Why is it that's therefore much more important to actually root myself in the small, and what can I do? So
If
just,
I could
yeah,
just
please
add
go
in
ahead.
something over here. There's one beautiful quote by Richard Love that inspires me a lot. Let children experience the joy of being in nature before they learn of its loss. So that's the tiny step that I am working on. We don't talk about climate change, global warming, or any of these issues at Green Panther. When kids are with us, we are trying to first build the empathy, the connection, and love for nature. And I think from there, the rest will, take it on its own. And yeah, I think if parents, schools, and communities not see nature time as luxury, but a necessity. That itself would be a great start.
And thank you. Actually, that was brilliant to kind of answer the question that I. Inta, when you hear of the structured need for creating spaces for engagement in an urban setting versus the kind of engagement that you see for children in your communities, what does it make you think?
Yeah, how do I put it? Yeah, in the urban areas, the exposure to nature is limited to certain, like a balcony garden, a park, that's an artificial park, a pond, and then I would like to talk about the children in the place that I'm working. So the nature is all around them, like everywhere they go, nature is with them, like going to school, and coming back, playing in the river. Like nature is going with them everywhere they're going. So yeah, there is a difference that I can observe, because yeah, I hope I get your question.
How does actually, let me just ask you a slightly uh, if is the issue of the changing environment a concern in the communities? Is it something that the children notice? And given the years that you have worked there, what have you seen as the shifts?
Yeah, the children. If we speak about climate change, they have noticed a raise in temperature. Other than that, everything is quite normal for them back here, because they've been conserving nature, and then they have been doing restoration by their own for since very ancient time. So the only drawback that they are having right now is to get more higher education and better quality education. Their children of some households are like going away from home in a very early time.
Yeah.
So there is a gap in knowledge exchange between the elders and the youngsters. So that can be a thing that we can work on it. But other than that, they only experience temperature rise, and maybe sometimes heavy rains, sometimes like the outpouring of a river. Yeah, that is also a climate change effect. But yeah, that are the things that they have been experiencing here. Like if we compare it to urban areas where you don't get to go out of the room because of the bad air quality, smog, AQI, and everything. That's and here back here it's a bit better, like the impact of climate change. Yeah.
Yeah, there it's temperature, here it's air quality. And Bijal, when you talk, write the stories and you take it to children. Yeah. What has been your aha moments in the way the kids have received what you've presented to them? And what has been your aha moments with respect to how adults have engaged with it?
Oh, it's always so much fun, Deepika. So, there's a point in A Cloud Called Bhura where I talk about this big brown cloud that's come on top of Mumbai, and how the politicians are saying something, how the media is saying something, how the children are noticing things. And then I stop over there and I ask them, and usually there are always adults in the room, right? And I ask both sets saying, what would you do? And almost always, I would ask them, what would you do if this big brown cloud of pollution comes on top of your city? Every adult in the room will say, we will leave the city. And the children look just like, what? And they do look a little like horrified. And then uh, everyone, I mean, there are lots of different answers, but most of the times you have children saying, I want to find out what's happening. I want to stay and fight. I want to stay and ask questions, things like that. And I don't think they're saying it because I'm the adult in the room and they want to please me, but I think they're just naturally curious and less jaded than the adults who are like, no, no, let's leave the place. Also, one of the things that while listening to Shruti and Linthoy talk, what makes me realize constantly is that I've also switched the way I talk to children, I think, over the years. We did this book called We Hope, which is Children on Climate Change. And we asked children what they thought about the way their area, their cities, and their villages and their forests are changing. And I got responses, things like, my lungs are tired. My forest used to, the turtles are dying. There is no water in our village taps. And I realized that children are essentially either becoming very anxious about their relationship with the climate or very transactional. So it's like, why do I like trees? Because they give me oxygen. Uh, and that's a very transactional relationship that's constantly evolving. And there's studies that actually call this the environmental generational amnesia, where every generation sees the environment as diminished as they're born into. So a child in Delhi is always going to think of winter as horrible AQI with 900 parts AQI. Uh, but I think the problem starts when uh, the children are not encouraged to fall in love with nature. And I keep calling it that as creators, our job is to be like Yash Chopra. Um, sorry about that, but we start with the same thing. We start with this whole idea of of here's Earth, here's how glorious she is. Like there's Raji Vibe's book, which is just this kid going, "Hello, snail, salam, spider," so on and so forth, and he's just meeting the natural world with so much joy. And that's all I want the earlier books to do. I want them to fall in love with nature, because only when you fall in love with nature, you protect, you find that you protect that. And my favorite really is my friend who messaged me saying, my daughter's going around saying hello to millipedes everywhere because of you. It's like, no, blame Raji Vibe. I had nothing to do with it.
Oh, that's perfect. Hello world, which comes so easy for kids. Shruti, what is the tension that you actually experience in these conversations between adults and children? Because I'll tell you one thing that I've constantly heard, okay? Oh, it is so hard for us to do this in urban. It's very easy for to say in our lives are like this and all that. But how, what is the tension and how does one resolve this tension? And can you speak a little to me about how this is for all the adults who are eventually going to see this conversation that we've had. If there was a message that we needed to give to an adult to say, open your eyes, look around, I will show you the things that you're missing. And through the lens of your child, what would you want to say to them? And also there are all these fears that you're talking about, right? Can you address how you kind of want to dispel those fears and why those are not like they are real, yes, but also there are ways to work around them.
Unfortunately, I think even I have not able to find the way for it. We are struggling, trying hard to ask parents to get their kids outdoors. We know, I don't want to again, repeat the importance of nature time and how beneficial the impact that it has on kids' upbringing, right from their social to emotional to overall well-being in various aspects. It's much needed. And I think I would really love to take this opportunity to address the concern. We have a very limited window, considering the hectic schedule we have. Most of the parents are working. Weekdays are sold. Only weekends are left where we are trying hard that at least weekends, if you could come outdoors and spend time, not with just with the nature, but even with your child. It's a good opportunity as a parent and child bonding time as well. But I think I have been fighting hard with so many variables, which I'm actually facing a roadblock now to solve them. I get the excuses right from the festival time to vacation to exams to weather. I don't know. I mean, there are always reasons, there are always excuses. And we are just saying Saturday and Sunday, we are out there. Please come join us. Please step out. And I don't know what will make the shift in the mindset of the parents, because of course we completely rely on them, and I think they are the ones who can, help us, uh, help the future generation.
Can you what has been and this is again for Shruti itself actually, given your vast experience of having to work with children, give me one example, a story, a aha moment that was like that you will carry with you.
Oh, yes. I think something Vijay mentioned now, millipedes, right? Millipedes are so common around us, but until and unless you come outdoors in nature and you get to know what millipedes are, you kind of find them as weird creatures. Most of the kids don't know what millipedes are. So one instance that I remember, a parent calling me, who they were part of our nature walk, and the child, of course, had observed various things, and one of them was millipede. It so happened, it seems, that millipede was there outside the classroom one day in the school. This incident happened in the school, narrated by the child to the parent, and the parent telling me the some notorious kids in the class were troubling the millipede. They were just poking with a stick and thinking it's harmful, or it's poisonous. And this little child, because of that tiny experience he had, just went there, picked up the millipede, and let it out in a pot that was next there. And it was such a touching moment. And educating friends over there that it's not something harmful, it's a friendly creature and need not be harmed or killed was a moment that I'll always remember.
No, but that's exactly the thing that Yujal was talking about, right? That connection is not something that will ever change because it's about having helped something, having saved something, and it remains. Linda, can I ask you a question? What worries you as you see in your community, while there is a natural inclination to restore, and they've been doing it for generations and generations? But you're also talking about how things are changing, where parents are sending their children away to study elsewhere or to develop lives elsewhere, away from the land, away from the community. And you've talked multiple times today about how the knowledge gap, which is inherent in the community between generations, that is getting lost. The reason why we're, of course, having these conversations in urban India and requires a Shruti and Bijal and everyone to write stories and create environments is because of the gap.
Yeah.
You are starting to sort of notice the gap as it is happening right now. So, what worries you, and what you think needs to change in that community so that we don't get to this point?
Yeah. What worries me the most is like if they're not if there is a huge knowledge gap between the traditional techniques of farming and uh, and their livelihood and their connection with nature. If there is no knowledge exchange between the elders and the younger generation, the younger generation will be very distant from nature, and they would feel like they would read it in books rather than experiencing in back in their hometown. So it will be a very foreign thing to them, and they won't feel, if they feel the need to conserve also, they won't be having the right amount of knowledge to do it in a more, how do I say, structured way, like their ancestors have been doing it. That's what I'm worried about the most. And then what how can we help them is like, we can help build a stronger education like a structure inside the village up till a certain period of time, like until the children are grown and have a developed mindset. After that they can go build their lives. Like me, I've came outside from my home, but I went back to nature again. So that kind of things needs to happen because everyone needs to build their life, we understand, but up till certain age, like the knowledge that is inculcated in, like I always tell this to everyone, I still remember what my teacher told me when I was in class 3. but I don't remember all the formulas that had been taught in my graduation. So I think that we have a very great opportunity to teach children. I'm very I feel very good hearing from all the panelists how they're engaging with children. So if we teach them the values and the traditional knowledge and like the connection to nature and the way of life, how do we coexist with nature and wildlife in a very uh, to the children's. So I think it will be of great help when like if they go out of their hometown and work somewhere also, like when we if we try to like talk about it or do conservation again, I think they will agree it in a much faster way, and then they will put their heart out to do conservation. That's what I think about it. That's how we can help to build a stronger education facility in the village. Yeah.
Can you give us a few examples? Because I feel like we will be enriched so much from just hearing some stories in terms of things that you have noticed as practices that help that children are involved in, where they are along with their community and parents working on restoring the land, or games they play, how they engage with each other, anything that is sort of very unique to the communities in which you work.
Yeah, yeah.
That'll be
And
lovely
uh,
for all of us to learn.
okay. So there's a village. There is no road. Like you have to walk. You have to trek. You have to trek 1.5 hours, and then there's a full functioning village in the like in this part of the Karbi Anglong. So there in that village there is a government school. So what amazes me the most is there is a the principal of the school. He goes up and down every day. He trek 1.5 hour. He trek 1 hour back. So he goes there every day and teach the children whatever he knows. So and then the children of all the ages, like there's no proper like functioning structured education or syllabus, but he has been transferring knowledge what and through like great dedication he's been doing it. And then like the innocence and the like how do the cherishful moments they share with the school principal, and there is only one teacher in the school. So it's a it's a very wholesome moment to watch the children like enjoying with the teacher, no. And then like so certain games that I can point out, there is a like ereka nut. Yeah, they call it tamul here. Ereka nut. The leaves of the ereka nut. The children used to sit on the leaves, and then one will drag it. So that's how that's a toy for them, and it's available everywhere. And the like they get immense pleasure from playing like that. And then there's another game where they walk using a bamboo stick. That's how their games are also connected to nature. Yeah, and then, huh, yeah.
I saw Shruti nodding her head quite vigorously, and we heard being dragged, the Arakanat leaf being dragged. Bijal, you write your stories for children to sort of unpack and connect today, but also to kind of build care for the future, right? So if there was a narrative shift that you wanted in parents and in adults to facilitate more of this and more of this engagement, and to kind of do this in that, what would you um what would you want that narrative shift to be?
I think as an adult who's been following the climate crisis for very long, I feel sometimes very hopeless. And I sound jaded, I know that, but the moment I talk to children, uh, and I think listening to everybody talk today, it like I was taking copious notes about those games and all of that, because I think just watching, just listening to children, just observing what they look, how they deal with their everyday, offers me what I think is the important shift in narrative that needs to happen, and that's of hope. I think a lot of times we as adults tend to want to protect and say, okay, let me not alarm you, which I think is very important. Uh, but children are very resilient, and think about the kind of stories we grew up with. I mean, fairy tales, two words. Right at the beginning, Cinderella's mother's died. She's got this horrible stepmother and stepsister. Hansel and Gretel being shoved into an oven to be eaten by a witch, and children are just cackling and they just take all of this in. So I think the moment you tell them narratives that offer the truth, because that's what they're always looking for, and as Lintoy said, as they grow older, they have more information at their fingertips. So to be able to give them information in a way that's a little bit more safe, or a little bit more also correct and scientific in times of disinformation, but to end it with hope. I do sessions with children where I talk to them about change makers, and they are so excited to hear about the kind of work people do, to know that by drawing you can make a difference, like in the terms of, say, Rohan Chakravarti, or there's a herpetologist who's out there studying king cobras. Just listening to that, I think, is what is needs to be done. Give them more action stories, more hopeful stories. And actually, I'll tell you something that really strikes me always. And I'm very popular during Earth Day and World Environment Day and all of that.
Yes,
So,
I can imagine.
so I go to these assemblies, and it's beautiful to listen to children saying, "I pledge to walk to school. I'll carpool to school. I'll not use plastic." All of that. And now I've just started saying, I want one pledge. I just want you to go climb a tree. I want you to go explore the tidal pool near your city. I want you to go look at the bush, which might have lots of cocoons in it. And I think that sense of wonder, which Rachel Carson, who's my hero, talked about, where she said that every child is born with an inherent sense of wonder about the natural world. All she needs is an adult to foster it. So I kind of think that if we can put that into the narrative, that's important. And that's it. Please don't ask them to do things, because really children have homework to do. They need to find time to play. Saving the world is on us, not them.
Perfect. Because more projects to do as homework to save the world may actually be more lip service than connection, actually. Truly, truly powerful what you said. Shruti, I want to come to you. Say, how can how can schools and communities bring nature education into their lives, not as a extra activity, but as part of life? Give us just 3, 4 ideas for people to take away. Anything that comes to your mind that, this is the simple stuff that you can do, and that's all you need to do, because the rest they will figure.
I think all schools and teachers are already struggling with time. The best advice or suggestion that I can think of, don't make nature as a separate thing. It can be integrated in all the subjects. It's just about, being a little bit creative and thoughtful, mindful about, making that conscious decision of making nature part of all the subjects. Measuring shadows or counting petals for math, the storytelling and poetry for language, sketching leaves and flowers, insects, birds for drawing classes. So just bring in nature into all of the subjects. It can beautifully be integrated anywhere easily. We just have to make that conscious decision and encourage teachers and children to step outdoors. I think it's doable.
Love that. Like, encourage teachers and children to step outdoors. The time that everybody loves, the class that the teacher decides, okay, let's go out and have a
Yeah.
class today.
True.
Always the most fun. And this is even the 3, 4, 5-year-olds in preschool love it.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Lanthoy, if you had to tell the world from where you are messages of hope and resilience and care that you've seen in the communities that you work in, what would those messages be?
Yeah,
Particularly in how they engage their children?
yeah. Uh, my message would be like people in this community, the parents, usually the parents, like they don't fear to take their child to the nature in the wildlife. Like they're not scared about their safety. Like they have been coexisting with the nature, so they're not scared about like if a wild animal will come and harm me or my children. Like everyone is like very cool with it. Like uh yeah, the wild animals will come and they'll go their way. So I think that's a very the trust factor and the harmony with nature that they have. Yeah, that's I would like to spread that. Like if I would like to spread to the parents that are yeah of the urban areas to be like to spend more time to spend more time educating about nature and taking the children out rather than being scared about. Yeah, I know there are some safety issues, but like I can see the huge difference in the courage that the people in this community have, like the parents. So yeah, that's a message that I want to spread.
Is there anything that you have noticed as a practice in your communities, particularly with local leaders and the community, which makes the bond that children have with nature stronger, Lintoy?
I think it's the how do I say, it's their livelihood. Like it's their
Mhm.
lifestyle. The nature is within their lifestyle, so it's very natural for them to like grow up with the nature. And then like for example in shifting cultivation, like almost uh, uh, 3/4 of the year you have to stay in the June, like the shifting cultivated fields. So the childrens often go with their moms because there is no one at home to look. Yeah, so that's how they have been built. And then there is no internet connection, less people use mobile phones. So that's how they will converse about nature because their parents have been since morning till evening they were with the nature, so they'll collect stories and they'll transfer it to their children. So that's how I think they're more connected.
Comes back to stories. It comes back to stories and it comes back to time and it comes back to stepping out and not being afraid.
Yeah.
I am very mindful of time. I just wanted to say thank you so much for this conversation. These Bitex are about actually the conversation rather than even perhaps the audiences that we are able to bring in the moment that we're having the conversation. We really want to be able to take these conversations to a much wider audience by recording these chats that we have with each other, building of the ideas that we're all presenting to each other today. Thank you so much for that. And for your time. And I love the fact that we were such a diverse group. Uh, I'm actually imagining, Bijal, no pressure at all, a story that you might write based on Lintoy's.
Uh, I actually this is why I was taking notes because I was thinking Linthoi should tell the story. And that would be really amazing because the work you do sounds so important, is so important. It just sounds so fascinating. So
Thank
thank
you.
you also, Deepika and team, for having us and just so that we can listen and learn from each other
Thank you, really.
playfully.
Thank you, Shruti. Thank you, Lintoy. Thank you, Bijal. Devina, I'll hand this back to you if you want to wrap it up.
Yeah, thanks so much. I know we have 6 minutes. I'm just curious if there's anyone in the who's been listening in who has a question or anything they're curious about. And there's no pressure, should you not. I'll give it a couple of seconds. Okay. No worries. I think we can wrap up and get 5 minutes back into our days. But thank you, Deepika, and thank you, Leenthoy, Peejal, and Shruti, for being a part of this conversation. What we've heard today are three very different but deeply connected ways of seeing childhood and climate. Whether it's the image of children walking along their parents to the fields or growing up in landscapes where nature is very much a part of the daily life, or reminders that stories are just not entertainment, but they're how children and adults find imagination, humor, and agency in face of crisis. And also that the call to notice that even in cities and densely populated spaces, children already see natures, and it's whether us adults choose to value these encounters. So together, these voices hopefully have showed us that climate is not very far away. It's around us, and hopefully this reminds us that when we care for children's everyday spaces, we're kind of already caring for the climate. So thank you for being a part of this Bachpan Baithak. We're very grateful that all of you could join, and thank you for holding this space with us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Lovely.
you.
मुलमुल की हंसदी बुना से काठों मा होया कतगा रोते लोच मेरो गाँव मा होया माटो माटो आई ब्याखुनी पाख्यों मा होया माझी बाटू हिरणी चटियागी डेरा मा मुलमुल के हंस दे हो पूना से काठियों मा हो कथगारों ते लूचा
बच्चों को सीखने की आजादी दो, उन्हें बचपन मनाने दो।